Hi, welcome to day 1 of the Radical Self-Love Experiment. I'm so glad you've decided to join me for these 3 days of really cultivating deeper self-love, self-trust, self-connection. And I really believe that cultivating your self-love will lead to overall thriving. So let's jump in. Today's challenge is to find a childhood photo of yourself and spend some quality time with her. So quality time is one of my top love languages, and I think we can all really afford to spend more quality time with our inner child, the actual child within us. And so in this video, I'm going to share a couple really practical ways for you to get a hold of a photo so that you can really do this exercise. I'm also going to share the sassy thing that my grandma told me when I was 15 years old that really rocked my world. And then I'm also going to talk about why self-love is an antidote to our inner critic. So, when I was 15, I was with my grandma at her house, and for some reason we talked about alone time or, being by myself, and I told her kind of casually, I said, "Oh my gosh, I hate being alone." And she instantly responded and she said, "Really? I love being with myself." And I was really taken aback by her comment. Not because, she answered in this sassy, confident way, but more so about what it implied about me. So her saying, "Really? I love being with myself," implied to me that I didn't love my own company, that I didn't love being with myself. And my grandma's favorite company is truly her own company, which now as an adult, I see the value and the beauty of that. I always tell my clients, we are our only lifelong companion. You were born into your family and you'll have your parents for a time. You might even marry your high school sweetheart and have them for most of your life, but you're the only person that you walk literally every step of this journey with. And so taking time to cultivate a good relationship with yourself is really a worthwhile and important task. So if I was being honest with myself, my grandma was right. Not that she said anything directly to me, but what she insinuated in that message was that maybe I didn't love being with myself, and that's why I hated being alone. I felt that way for many years, all the way up into college, and maybe you feel that way too, or you have had that experience where you hated being alone with yourself. It's actually pretty common, and it has to do a little bit with personality types, but it also has to do with our comfort with being with ourselves, with our own thoughts, with our own feelings, and with our own bodies. And so maybe you've suffered through that fear or hatred, to use a strong word, of being with yourself, or maybe it's something else, like seeing a photo of yourself is really triggering, or perhaps you're the kind of person who replays conversations or interactions in your head over and over, and you go back and you criticize, "Oh, why did I say that?" Or "How could I have done that? That was so stupid." Maybe you have a really loud inner tape that is always constantly speaking to you of negative things that you're saying about yourself. That's also very common. Each of us has an inner critic. Some of them are more intense, some of them are meaner than others, but we all have one. And so this journey is about moving from letting the critic run the show to becoming your own best friend. So not only are those things common in our society or among women, but they're actually very common to me. Everything I just described is something that I personally struggled with in my own journey, from truly self-hatred to self-love. I wouldn't have called it that back then, or even identified that I had a negative relationship with myself, because it's just so common. You just have these negative thoughts, you just have this incessant chatter in your head, and you think it's normal. But while it might be common, it's not healthy. And so one day I was on a spiritual retreat with a group of friends. We were out in the woods, we were in the mountains, and I was at a dinner table, and my friend Joe asked me, "Devin, if you're not your own best friend, then who are you to yourself?" And in that moment, I instantly started to cry, because his question, while so innocent and gentle, really pierced my heart, and it made me realize I was my own worst critic. And many of us go through our lives as that worst critic. That's the number one relationship we have towards ourselves, is we're the critical one towards ourselves. And so I realized I don't want to be that anymore. I don't want to be so hard on myself all the time. I want to be my own best friend. And as I sought to change this relationship with myself and learn more about these patterns and why we tend towards negativity and towards criticism towards ourselves, I realized that these negative self-relationships are really, really common. I wasn't the only one living as my own worst critic. And maybe as you hear me speak, you are relating to it as well, because you have a really loud inner critic or critical voice that speaks to you. And I think actually, in fact, many women feel less than, not enough, like they're not worthy, because we were never taught how to develop a relationship, a loving relationship with ourself. We were never taught how to love, tend to, care for, and really bring ourselves back to a place of equilibrium. And so this is something that we can do now as we reparent ourselves and teach ourselves how to have a loving relationship, not a critical relationship. So my question for you is, how often have you thought about your relationship to yourself? If you're like most women, you spend time investing in friendships, which are so rich and so important, in your community, in your relationship with a spouse or a partner or a loved one, or even with your parents. As we navigate adult relationships with parents, we spend some time thinking about it and trying our best to navigate those waters. But one of the relationships that we tend to neglect is that connection to ourselves. So I don't mean improving yourself. I mean connecting deeply to yourself, being with yourself, knowing yourself, accepting yourself, caring for yourself, honoring yourself, tending to your needs, recognizing and comforting yourself in your fears, in your anxieties, and then also acknowledging and tending towards your desires. Kind of like you would do for a child, kind of like you would comfort a child and kiss a boo-boo or tell them it's going to be okay and there are no monsters in the closet. How you would say, yes, of course you're hungry, let's have a meal. We are more apt to do this for children and meet children's desires. Maybe you have a niece or a nephew or a little sibling, and you know what it's like to tend to another one who is in need. We can have that same relationship with ourselves. And so this is where this inner child work and this photo exercise is really, really helpful. So getting a photo of yourself. This is me at Chuck E. Cheese when I was 2.5. And I keep this photo actually above my desk. So I look at her every single day. And the beauty of seeing a physical image of ourselves as a child is that it can evoke so much affection. And the affection that we have for that child can then become the affection we have for ourselves. And so I recommend finding a photo of you between the ages of 2 to 7. Mine is 2.5. You could get a 5-year-old photo, whichever one, something that makes you smile, something that connects you to that person. And so I found this one in an old picture box in my mom's garage. But if you're currently in quarantine and you can't go to your parents, you can also ask them to take a photo of one of the pictures that they have hanging in their house. Or if they have a photo album and they could snap a quick picture and text it to you. Another thing is that a lot of parents like to put pictures of us up on Facebook. So you could also check out your parents' Facebook page and see if they happen to have posted something of you. It doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to be fancy. Just any kind of image of you as a child is going to be really helpful for this exercise. So, and if none of those options are available for you, you can always visualize yourself as a child. I do recommend getting a picture and doing what you can to get a photo. You don't have to tell them what you're doing with it, but getting a photo is a much more tangible way for you to connect to yourself. If you don't have that access, you can always just visualize, see yourself, your favorite outfit, your favorite cowboy boots you used to wear. When you were in your soccer uniform, you can just visualize you as a child. So once you have that photo or you have the image in your mind, you're going to spend some time looking at yourself. You're going to spend some time really looking into your eyes, or looking at your face, looking at your smile. My smile is so big, it's like squinting my eyes here. And just being with the child. Just notice how cute you are. Notice how sweet you look, your hair, your cheeks, your belly, if you happen to be naked or in a diaper or whatever. And think about what you loved at that age, what you loved doing, what your quirks and personality was if you remember or your parents have told you stories. And think about what it would be like to give that child a hug. Give them a little squeeze. This sends chills down my arms. Just the idea of ever being able to hold little me. It's just so tender and so sweet. And she, as I look at her, is so worthy of love. She's so easy to love. To me, she's so cute. She's so cute and she's so happy and she's so vibrant, full of joy, full of life, full of promise. So when you look at yourself as a child, you're probably going to feel those things too. You're going to say, wow, I was a cute kid. Wow, I would kiss those cheeks. This is an adorable child. And it might bring up emotions like it is for me a little bit, because there is so much tenderness and there's so much vulnerability to a child. And maybe it brings up hard memories or trauma or sad things. And if that happens, I just encourage you, really tend to yourself. Be with yourself. Give yourself a big hug. Make yourself a cup of tea. You can take a nap. Really tend to yourself, because this could bring up a lot of things. Hopefully a lot of love, a lot of tenderness, but also maybe some grief. And that's okay. This is the beginning of building a better relationship with you. And that relationship is going to have a variety of emotions, a variety of, fears and anxieties and joys and hopes and dreams and affection and frustration. And when we welcome it all and we say all of it is good and I love you no matter what, that is the beauty of this process. So no matter how you feel towards yourself today, you can always love the child. And that is the power of this, because the more you can love the 2.5-year-old you, then you can love the 10-year-old you, then you can love the teenage you who made all those mistakes, then you can love the 20-something you, then you can love the today you. And you realize that just as worthy as that child is of love, affection, attention, belonging, so much care, you are the same way today. And you are the one who is responsible and capable of giving it to you. So this practice has been really critical in my self-love journey. Like I said, I look at her every single day. She makes me so happy, and she also reminds me that things are going to be okay. And I promise that if you do this, and if you look at yourself, and if you love that child, you will cultivate more self-love for you today, and so much grace and generosity and gentleness, because we can't be harsh with a 2.5-year-old. Even if they're acting up, maybe you get frustrated every once in a while, but you still love them to pieces. And the same goes for us. Even if we make a mistake, we say, oh, that was bad. I still love you. You're still good. It's okay. I'm going to give you a hug. You're still worthy. I'm going to give you a kiss. So that is your exercise for today. Thank you for watching this video. Thank you for doing your best to connect to this child within you. For finding this photo. I hope you put it somewhere where you can see her every single day. Love on her, love on yourself. And tomorrow we're going to be going into a physical touch practice. So the next step of self-love, again, another love language of physical touch. That's my number 2, love physical touch. And this will be a really safe physical touch practice. We'll talk about lotion, we'll talk about essential oils, we'll talk about self-massage, and just really simple, nothing elaborate, but really simple practices to help you get your body involved in the self-love journey. And I'm also going to talk to you about the difference between self-improvement and self-love, and how they are separate but also integrate, and they work off of each other. So thank you for joining me. I'll see you tomorrow for day 2 of the Radical Self-Love Experiment. Bye.